It's time for a little Saturday morning fun time! Your show manager is Martin Acosta Santana and John Aaron Schmidt. And your producer is Martin Acosta Santana. I'm your announcer, the Comic Relief Crusader. And now, your hosts, Tom and Gerry. Gary.
It's not rocket science. Just say yes and we'll move on.
Rocket science. Cool stuff. Hope everybody's having a good weekend. Just went to see Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, fresh out of the theater, and trying to get my mind to wrap around doing Dune. And I want to point out, sadly, last minute, Nerd Cookies got a hold of me and said that she had a family emergency and had to go deal with that. So she will not be joining us. So it's going to be Tom and me and this gang here. We've got Deleted Scenes, Scribelight, and Teague joining in the discussion, as well as Martin, who is a fan of Dune. So he'll have some things to say, I'm sure, as we discuss Dune from 2000. Not Dune 2000, but Dune from 2000, the miniseries that appeared on the Sci-Fi Channel that was produced by an Italian production company, which is why there's so many Italians in it, like Italy Italians. And I'm very fond of this miniseries. I really did like it. My one beef was I didn't think Alec Newman was right for Paul Atreides.
Really?
Really? Because I think he's been the best Paul Atreides.
I don't know if I'd agree with that. I think he's too old.
Well, I think at the beginning they tried to make him look young. I mean, of all the Pauls that we've seen so far in the films, he's the one that had the most physical evolution from the beginning to the end, because they try to make him a little bit more, they put his hair flat a little bit more, make him a little bit more teenager, and by the end, of course, he's this, warrior cult leader and is physically altered with his hairstyle and his musculature and everything. So I thought he was the most dynamic of all the Pauls.
Yes, I'm completely.
I'm glad you guys agree. I'm not with you on that, but he's a good actor. I just felt like I would have wanted somebody a little younger than him. And I thought Kyle MacLachlan was really good as kind of a 20-ish version of Paul Atreides, but he still wasn't the kid. Which, we all know that this is part of the inspiration for Luke Skywalker with Star Wars. Starting out young and getting older and becoming more of a master as the series went on. But you had some really good actors in there, like Giancarlo Giannini. Most people know him best from Casino Royale.
Well, and I saw him first in Hannibal.
Yeah.
The series?
Yeah, he played
No,
Pazzi.
the
Hannibal the movie. Yeah, with
it was Anthony Hopkins. Man, I forgot he was in that. I don't remember him in that at all.
He was the Italian cop that was onto Hannibal.
Oh, yeah, that was related to Pazzi. Gotcha.
Pazzi, yeah.
And of course, William Hurt did a tremendous job as Duke Leto. Another one that I really liked in the cast was P.H. Moriarty that played Gurney Halleck. That was a really good casting.
Did you guys already mention that we got God, I forgot his name now, the bad guy from Beverly Hills Cop who took over as Stilgar in this one too?
Yes.
What the hell's his name?
He's a German actor. No, but
yeah,
I think he's in the second part.
Uwe Ochsenknecht, or however you say
that guy.
Yeah, Ochsenknecht.
Victor Maitland. That's all I know him as.
Oh, that guy. Actor.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I know who you're talking about now.
But I actually
Ian
like.
McNeice as the Baron was awesome too.
Oh, Ian
I actually-
McNeice
Stephen Barkoff.
stole the show.
I loved this miniseries. I actually thought it was
yeah.
a step up from the last one in a lot of ways, with the production, the casting, even the changes they made, the way the story was told, the way they took Messiah, made it one movie, and then took the next two to tell Children of Dune. I thought that's honestly, this is the way that Denny should have done it. I'm not gonna try to be a Debbie Downer about the newer films, but all you had to do was take it in 3 parts, basically, do it this way, since you have a time jump in Dune and then another time jump for Messiah, part 2 is where you should have had 2 separate time jumps, and then the third film be Children of Dune. That's all you had to do, right? Like, I don't understand this, why you did it this way, why you changed everything to where it wasn't.
Well, changing
lining
Chani
up.
in particular,
Yeah, because
her role is so essential to Paul Atreides.
in my understanding, because I full disclosure, I've never read Children of Dune or Messiah. This is all I know of the story, but to me, this is kick ass. So to me, it can only get better by the book, right? So I thought this was an amazing follow up to Dune. I was like, shit, if this is what we were supposed to get, this is amazing. This is like Star Wars times 10.
And oddly, I would have said that this was my favorite version of Dune if I hadn't been introduced, thanks to you and Andre, to the Spice Diver cut. So that's when 1984.
Yeah, I do
Dune
like
became
the
my
design and stuff like that Lynch went with over this. But I mean, they had to do something different for this. But at least this part doesn't have it's shot on a stage production feel. Like it still feels like a TV movie, but it doesn't have that cheap ass feel at the first. That just shows you how much there was an advancement in CGI in like 3 or 4 years between the first one or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing was mostly a budget situation.
Right.
They had zero confidence in this miniseries, and when they saw the hit that it became, then they inject more money into this budget to the second miniseries.
The thing I love the most about this series is the visual geography of the different houses, the different clans, the different elements of the world.
Well, they followed the same template that even David Lynch did, that each house had its own design and look.
Yeah, but even then, like in the original Dune and certainly in the remakes, the differences are so slight and dour. Like there's no life to
the new ones.
Yeah, because the new ones are just like beige and gunmetal gray, and it's all very lifeless. And like the only difference between the Harkonnens and everybody else is like, oh, our armor is one color and theirs is the other, and we're all bald. Whereas this, you could see different cultures existing and clashing. There's a lot of visual storytelling taking place, and just the differences in attitudes, in the costuming, and how colorful it was in contrast to the deadness of Dune.
And as I recall, the one thing they did, though, Scribe, that I kind of thought was nifty in the new film is that Getty Prime is the sun is infrared, as I recall. So that's why everything looks black and white.
Oh, okay.
And it literally has like no color to it.
Well, in the books, it's just it's just a planet that's been completely like reaved over by industrialization and exploitation and everything. There's nothing that like physically changes the inhabitants.
And that's why I like Lynch's version of the Harkonnen, because that's what they look like. They've been industrialized to death, and their whole city or their whole planet is like a city of industry, and they're literally bathing in oil and chemicals and stuff, injected into them and everything.
Oh my god. And but
kind of like California.
Yeah. Just like
walking outside.
So, but we were talking about some of the cast, and I believe that the big coup of this miniseries was having William Hurt as Duke Leto Atreides. I love
even
that
though
cast.
I don't think he had anything to do with the sequel, but
No, but one little piece of trivia is that they originally wanted Alice Krige to play Lady Jessica, but she couldn't because of some scheduling conflict. So they got Saskia Reeves. Honestly, I like Saskia Reeves better as Lady Jessica than when Alice Krige shows up. by the time they get to Children of Dune. I thought they couldn't keep her because I think she was pregnant or something at the time. But Saskia Reeves she's got such elegance to her and just quiet power to her. Alice Krige, I like her in other things. Sometimes she's just a little too severe. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Well, basically, your William Hurt in this series is, of course, oh God, I just forgot her name, Susan Sarandon, right? Like she's your big name in this one, and she does a great job.
Oh, she was Children of Dune. Yeah.
But which one are we talking about?
The first one. You're talking
we're
about
talking about Children of Dune.
No, we're talking about the first Dune.
Oh, I'm so lost. I thought we talked about this last week.
You see the title you're looking at?
Why do I have this like deja vu that we already did this stream, Gear?
Well, this was supposed to happen last week, but it got rescheduled because of other
No, but I swear we've already done this specific stream like we were going to do.
No, the last one we talked about was the Spice Diver cut.
Was it? Okay, maybe we just talked so much about this that I swear we did it on this too. But I thought we were just going to talk about Children of Dune here today for some reason.
This is why you need to stop the weed, man. You're just
fuck that. No, this is why I need to do more.
Blasphemy.
I need to do the spice must flow.
That's why they call it dope.
No, I've done so many Dune streams and shit. That's probably the problem, man.
All right.
So many.
Well, now that Tom's on the right page.
Yeah, no, yeah, okay. Yeah, this is a great film. This is a good one.
And amazingly, by the way, I want to compliment
feels like a stage
Martine.
Play.
Martine did such a fantastic job of taking this 4.5 hour miniseries and getting it into a 2 hour
well, it's 3 90-minute parts actually, but yeah.
Oh yeah, no, 4.5.
I liked
hours.
her better than Alison Krige.
Yeah, I did too. I thought the contrast is much more elegant. Also, I just have to say that I've got the DVD version of like the director's cut super thing from way back in the day, like the 90s or whatever. Or not the 90s, the mid 2000s.
The booby edition.
Well, yeah, the international edition. The international edition, as far as I'm concerned, is the version you need to have because if you can find it, that's the one. I don't know if they produce that as much anymore. Yeah, the international version of Dune. Yeah.
I've never seen it.
Is that the international version or is that the?
Yes.
Is it? Okay. All right. I wasn't sure the Blu-ray had it.
Well, this is an imported Blu-ray, so yeah, and it's also
okay. All right.
Yeah.
Now the only thing I think they got wrong in this again was Duncan, Idaho.
Oh, Duncan, Idaho is always wrong in every adaptation.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing to do.
But I will tell you that if you go back to Star Wars, that's who Biggs was supposed to be. Biggs was supposed to be Duncan, Idaho.
Interesting.
In Star Wars. Hold on a second. Let me see that. I got to engorge Tom.
Well, this is the Blu-ray set that just come out this year or last year, but it comes with a huge Lego worm. And all the special features. Worm? Yeah, and all the special features that were on the DVD only before, they're now carried over here. So basically, this is like the new definitive version of the.
And that is a beautiful boxing.
By the way,
downside
I wanted to buy some merch today, and it was all sold out at the theater.
Of course. No, the only big downside of this movie, as opposed to Children of Dune, not to invoke that again, was when they shot this. This was in the early stages of HD television and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't shoot it for HD. They just shot it for television. Mm-hmm. So like on the Blu-ray version, anything that's on film and doesn't have any digital manipulation looks great. But anytime there's any digital manipulation, it's basically 480p. And you'll see it as we go through, because I think this looks like it's from the HD version. So some of the shots look just horrendous. But by the time they got to Children of Dune just a couple years later or whatever, things are so much better. Like that one was actually shot for HD, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it looks good. So, but this one, you can tell the limitations at the time they had.
Yeah, but it's all forgivable because it's all the visual stuff is overshadowed by
absolutely.
Just great acting and the visuals and just the storytelling overall. Like I can forgive it. I can forgive it.
I almost kind of look at it as like an elaborate book on tape in a weird way.
Jesus.
Gentlemen, I hate to interrupt, but I have to send this greeting.
Hey, fuck you, Kyle.
Is Kyle here?
Kyle.
Zach's. Yeah, he's here.
Yeah.
What's up, buddy? The Winsome, we got a few people here that are new to the channel.
Yes.
We've got Shaitan's Hammer, Winsome Hacks are both new. Welcome to the channel.
And we have.
Oh, and Mike Savage is here.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we have
Lord.
another person.
War Monkey.
Miranda Stone.
Miranda Stone, she's the queen of the Discords and one of my moderators over on Discord.
Well, greetings, fellow humans. Dust Wolfen's in the chat, not in the show. For
Yes.
some reason. Not seeing anybody else. War Monkey, of course, is here. Greetings, War Monkey. If you want to go to war and you need a monkey, War Monkey's the guy to take with you. Remember that, Tom. It's important. Almost as important as always remember to have a towel.
When I go to war, I like the war pigs better. A little more power than.
All right. So I liked a lot of the sets in this. I thought they did a really good job building the sets. They are kind of confining, but that's because it's for TV. But I still love the design work on them.
Yeah, it almost looks like they kind of refitted Star Trek sets or something. But yeah.
Yeah. Now, was this shot in Italy?
I don't know where this one was shot.
I thought it was Czechoslovakia or something.
Yeah, I'm not 100% on that.
Because a lot of the extras were Czechoslovakian. A lot of the Fremen, I believe, they pulled from the local community, so they had like a continuity of sort of cultural appearance for the Fremen.
There's a bunch of stuff on the making of it where I think they talk about that. I think you're right.
Yeah. I was correct on the first part. It was
Prague.
shot in Cinecittà Studios, Rome, Lazio, Italy, and Prague in the Czech Republic.
That's what it was.
Interesting.
So it's shot in both locations.
Well, I know the funny thing is, though, is even though this movie is associated with sci-fi because that's where it showed, Hallmark actually owns the rights to it.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's because sci-fi has been sold a few times since then. I think that's part of
Dune is a Hallmark movie.
I think they were part of the same company back then, but yeah.
2009 is when they sold to NBC, right?
I believe so. That's my point. Yeah. So back then, I think they were under the same company as Hallmark, but like, yeah, whatever production company that Hallmark. So basically, this is a Hallmark movie, like that's shot with that kind of a production in mind.
Which would explain some of the relationship with Henson Studios with sci-fi early on.
Yep.
And there's Ian McNeice, the best part of the entire series, and the best Baron as far as I'm concerned.
He does a great job here.
Yeah. Makes him far more, much more Machiavellian, much more intelligent, not a cartoon character. Even though I appreciate the Baron from the first movie, it's just a bit too much.
They do kind of drop the gay overtone though quite a bit. Like there is no real.
Oh, it's still in there.
It's there, but it's not nearly as prevalent as it is in the book. Like, but the weird thing is, you go from the industrialized look of the Harkonnen planet to this one, where it literally looks like a Las Vegas lounge.
Well, yeah, his palace looks like that, but when they make the open shots of the general landscape, you can see that. Of course, not as visually remarked as in the Lynch version, but still there.
Yeah,
I also liked how they did the eyes blue, because instead of so much the sclera being blue, it's mostly the iris.
Well, that's kind of the one thing that kind of differentiates all three of the Dune projects in their era is the first film was done with rotoscoping.
Yep.
The blue eyes, just like the lightsabers. This version, they actually had contact lenses, which is something they were thinking about doing in the first Dune, but at that time yet soft lenses weren't quite a thing. And they just thought it would be too practically a problem to do, because what they do basically is there's these special lenses, and they have a black light that's usually just off of wherever the actor's eye line is or over the camera, and it catches the black light, and that's what makes it glow.
Yeah.
which I thought was kind of cool because it almost gives you that effect, like how a cat's eye will catch the light.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So to me, that's what I feel like the Fremen and those who are infected with it it's like, oh, it's there. It's a subtle thing, but you only catch it when it's in the light, right? So it's kind of a cool way of doing it. And then you have the newer version, which is pretty much,
Digital.
sadly, the closest way to the book explains it, but it's just so dumb because it's just CGI, right? Like it's just like you could do it on your
Yeah.
phone.
Yeah, the practical nature of the eyes in this one really, it really sells the world better than rotoscoping or otherwise.
Yeah, like I said, it kind of makes you feel like they're otherworldly, like a cat, like with a cat's eye thing, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love the costumes, as cheesy as they are. I mean, it's so
Some of them are a little.
yeah, the Emperor's stuff is just absolutely god awful sometimes, but most everybody else's, it's just like I said, it's really both in the set design and the costume design. You can see like with the palace here, as we're seeing, you've got
The
this
design is great. Yeah.
the design is great, but you also see that when the Atreides are coming in, they're having to take over this palace that obviously has belonged to some extra cultures over the course of time. They don't quite belong there. They're out of place. And so they're having to like hang up banners and things and try to make the place a little bit more Atreides-ish. And so you have, yeah.
No, I was just say the costumes are. I'm sorry, but they're clearly made for television. That's the problem.
Sure.
Because they're not very detailed for that very reason. At that time they were filming, they're like, nobody's gonna see all this fucking detail, right? So they didn't over detail them, and that's part of the problem. So now when we see it like this in a modern setting, they look very bland and stage play like. And
Well, yeah, sure, but it's the style. It's the contrast of
yeah.
styles that you can tell that we've got different cultures. You can look at somebody and say, without having to give exposition, this person comes from Arrakis, this person is royalty Atreides, or this person's Harkonnen. You don't. It helps a lot.
What's funny with the Emperor's people, though, and the way they're dressed, it almost feels like they're plucked out of Jodorowsky's Dune that never got made.
All the big floppy hats and everything. They look
all
great.
that shit, the colorful shit. Yeah, all the
Sardaukar. Yeah, the purple and the black. I love it.
It's like they really dug into that, going, well, why don't we use some of these designs since they never got the Mobius designs? It's like, oh, no, don't. That would only work then. Like, yeah, that's my only real gripe with it. Because I mean, yeah, the Fremen, they have obviously I think their uniform is based, the still suit is based more on what would have that time been the military outfit. Help me if I'm wrong here, Gerry, because that would have been your era, probably like the Desert Storm era outfits they were wearing. It reminded me of more so.
We have camel packs that we used in the army.
But like just the way the suit looks, even, right? Like just instead of it being like the big puffy still suit like it was in the first Dune, here it reminded me more of a desert outfitted military.
Which is what it was in the book. They didn't, that was one of the first big complaints about the 84 Dune, was that the still suits didn't look like what was described in the books.
But what I was getting at is like, especially like this was, just a couple years out from Desert Storm, for instance. And to me, it reminded me of seeing a lot of the troops in Desert Storm with the colors, the way it looked. I mean, just the way it was outfitted out. I mean, am I wrong with that, or am I seeing that for a reason?
I see it a little too.
I have to go look at it real quick here. Dune.
Yeah. We don't see him for a little bit in the actual movie, but like, yeah, just that's because that specific era military outfit, it reminded me of.
And there's the big
It
cone.
kind of
Oh,
does.
yeah.
Things.
I actually do
Chocolate
like
chip
these
out.
designs. I do like this design. I think this came closer to what they were described as in the book.
Mm-hmm.
I dislike the still suits in the new film, but I do like these. I'm looking at the photo of Gurney and his. It had more like veins running through it,
Mhm.
little pipettes running along the suit. Yeah, there is something of a military look to this modern military.
Well,
Very
not just
cool.
that so much as the Fremen's outfits specifically too. The still suit looks to me like it just reminded me of the Desert Storm
Mm.
fatigues or whatever you call it. Trying to think of the actual uniform name. Yeah.
Yeah, I just watched this again
movie.
recently, and I was thinking about a line from Peter Jackson talking about creating the Lord of the Rings and talking about how you have to make some compromises here and there, and you have to sort of
Mhm.
make things work. But ultimately, the goal of it is to tell the story that the author wanted to tell as best as you
Mhm.
can, and stick to that, not inject your own agendas, your own politics, or anything. And even though this is now over 20 years old, watching it, it's so boilerplate to human experience and politics. It's timeless in that way. You don't feel like you're being like lectured to about something in particular. It's got a very sort of universal storytelling to it. And it feels so refreshing to watch something like this as compared to what you see these days, where somebody's always trying to put in their own little current for the moment message or contrast to something. Um, and it just felt more genuine overall than a lot of things we see these days.
Here we go. I'm gonna share this picture. A really good shot of the whole team on top of a worm from this series. And you can see the still suits in the different colors. There we go.
Battle
Yeah.
dress uniform was what I was looking for. Thank you to FKH. Yeah.
You can s-
Oh,
Uh,
BDUs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
We
It
just
kind of
call it
reminded
BDUs.
me of the Marine, the way the outfit to a point. Like obviously they're alienized, but especially just like the color schemes and stuff like that. But I could be
Right.
wrong.
You're talking like after we went to the desert colors, but before it was digitized. I think they called it chocolate chip, and it kind of looks like
Yes.
snakeskin.
Yes.
It looks like
Yes.
snakeskin. Yeah,
Yes.
they're using that right now in that show Power.
okay.
Everyone's styling it
We,
up.
we need to do another reading.
By what name are you known?
There are some who call me Tim.
There we go. Save image. And I'll post this one up on screen.
I like the fact that they're not quote unquote uniform, that it looks like a lived in universe where people like having to put
Right.
things together as they can put them together.
There you go. This is
Oh,
what the
yeah.
Marines wore over in Desert Storm.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. Is it feels very inspired by that, but I could be wrong. I was asking you specifically since you were in the military, but yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what you were getting at, but now I get it. You're talking about the BDUs. And the funny thing about BDUs, you had to wash them a specific way because there's actually an it's a radar retardant chemical that's in the uniforms that give you almost a zero signature as a
Oh, so
soldier.
that's what made you retarded?
Honestly, that
You walked right into that one. Sorry.
one. Gary, nice job loading Chekhov's gun for Tom there.
Yeah, in the military, you would call somebody half a retard. Are you some kind of half a retard? What's wrong with you?
Yeah, William Hurt just brings such gravitas to this character. Like you
Yeah,
really
he
you
does.
really believe him because he's so on it. It's so good.
I like
There's
the
that-
ornithopters in this one too.
Yeah, it's
They look like flies.
Yeah.
They're all right. They're not. That would probably be my like.
Well, in the description they were described as something that probably shouldn't be able to fly, like a
Well, that's
bee,
kind of why
bumblebee.
I do enjoy the design of them. Or I think. Let me rephrase that. That's why I think the new films actually nailed probably the design of the
Yes.
ornithopters the
No.
best.
Yes.
But
no.
I think
see,
so.
we already
I
have
love
two
them.
people. We have one agree and one disagree. So there you go.
The-
Yeah.
Imagine that.
The thing is this ornithopters. What mean is bird wing. The wings of the ornithopters should resemble the wings of a bird, not of a dragonfly. So when you think about an ornithopter, you have to think about a hummingbird more than a dragonfly.
Okay.
I still like the most recent design, honestly, even if it's not
Oh,
book
yeah,
anchored, it's still really
it
cool.
looks awesome. It looks
Yeah.
incredible, badass, but it's still not there. And to be honest, I don't think that can be done well. Seeing a bird's wing flapping, it's going to look ridiculous.
Well, yeah, and I don't think it could work practically, right? And I think that's where, I mean, yeah, and it's been a while since I've read the book too, so that's probably why I don't remember. But just my understanding of them, that's where the idea of the almost hummingbird type flapping wings of the dragonfly look that they have in the newer film, to me matched what I guess I had in my head more so than what we got here, and even more so than Lynch's Dune, which is kind of a weird, weird design, but yeah.
Yeah, and I know the person who designed it. Was
Yeah, you were
Miller.
talking about that on the last show, yeah. But I mean,
Ron
it's
Miller's
cool,
wife.
it's different, it's alien. I love the designs of Lynch's Dune, but I also acknowledge how far from the mothership some of those things are too. But you know, there's other things there that I know, like even at the time, Frank Herbert loved. Right. I think I want to find this interview. I can't remember where it was from, but he was talking about certain things. And I think he even brought up like the weirding modules. And I swear he said something along the lines of, you know, that's something I would have had in the books had I thought about it at the time or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, so he was kind of in tune with a lot of the stuff that Lynch was doing. Now, I doubt he was in tune with the ending, but you know, at the same time, I think he did also address the fact that the movie did pretty much capture what he was trying to say with the book and encapsulated it in a movie at that time for what he thought, you know, was actually possible. Because it was kind of a bit of a difference seeing an author like just totally being in favor and in love with this thing, even though compared to what we see with other authors sometimes in their gripes and pisses and moans about what's been done to their, you know, properties on screen. But yeah. But Andre will also say he's a bit of a pimp for Dune. So
no, okay.
In so many words, basically, like he would just be like, yeah, sir, whatever, as long as you give me money, you know, kind of thing.
He didn't have a whole lot of time left. Maybe he just wanted the cash. Didn't want to spend the last 18 months of his life arguing.
Well, and I think part of it too, and this is my observation just from diving into it kind of like through Andre's teachings and whatnot, and the videos that we've done about it and stuff, is that I think he had such a rough time getting Dune out there in the first place that, yes, I think the fact that anybody was giving it any kind of attention at all was more important than anything else. Because for those who don't even know, I think we brought this up last week, the original Dune was released by a book company that only did like owner's manuals and shit, and did like I think their other big thing they published was like the Blue Book or something like that. Like they didn't publish any kind of actual fiction books. They were a technical company, and it was the only company he could find that would actually publish the book for him, because nobody else would take it. They're just like, it's too fucking weird. We don't get it. Right. Like, so I think he had such a struggle getting the book originally even published to begin with. And then it kind of became this thing, and it got adopted by hippies and stuff like that. So, you know,
Plus, I was talking about this last night that Tolkien read it, got to read it, and admitted that he didn't like Dune.
Yeah.
But it wasn't because it wasn't quality work. What he didn't like about it was it had the opposite view on life that he had in his writing. And it was more negative, more about life and people aren't essential. Whereas he tried to make that story with his writing about life being important. And it was just, he felt it was dark. Because I've seen a few essays on his reaction to it, but he never once said that he didn't like it because it was bad writing. Never. He wouldn't have bothered reading it if it was bad writing. Oh, and is this the Shut Up Mapes?
No, this is the Hunter Killer.
Oh,
scene.
the other girl. That's right. And
yeah, the other girl.
Gom Jabbar comes into the room.
Yeah. Yeah, there was some real good tension in this scene. The other thing that I really love about this series versus after seeing the new one, after I haven't seen part 2 of Dune, I probably won't. I saw the first one. is just the efficiency of storytelling. It's the same amount of time given to the miniseries that you gave to the first part of the Denis version. And it just does, watching the Denis version, it doesn't, I just didn't feel like I was being given as much story or as much development or characters as was done in a 20-year-old TV miniseries in the same real estate of time frame. It was, that's what really sort of struck me. Is just like, how is it that I can watch the first part of the Dune miniseries and come away with a much broader understanding of the characters, all the machinery of the universe, the different houses, the different motivations and things. And I watched that first version of Dune, or the Denis Part 1, and just feel like I got robbed. I feel like I got robbed.
Well, because Denis needs. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, he's just, the vanity of Denis Villeneuve is just ridiculous, that he feels that he can tell a story older than him better than the master who wrote it.
He needs those
ridiculous.
He's a terrible. He's a terrible
shots.
speaker. I'm sorry. He's a terrible public speaker. He makes terrible statements, usually about 2 weeks after the movie's out. He's like, if people go see it again and it hits this like insane box office number, I'll finish the story for you. And that just is a non-motivator. Yeah, he can. Yeah. It's so non-motivating. With Blade Runner, I left the movie like, the hell, this movie didn't end. It just stopped. And then like I saw an interview with him and I'm like, oh, now I feel like you're taunting me, bro.
Because his goal was to make another film, but it's like, you know what? You shouldn't go at making a film that way.
Just wait as long as it took.
That should be an afterthought.
He should have answered the question whether Deckard was a replicant. He just passed on everything Blade
Well,
Runner.
Harrison Ford made it clear within the structure of the story that he was human. I know what I am.
I sort of felt like he was saying that too, but they weren't.
Ford wouldn't have worked on the film. That was the problem. The reason why Ridley got removed as the director was because the old argument started. They wrote an article about it. Like it was just a funny moment where they were drinking and, they got into that old argument again. Like, oh gosh. It was like, no, Harrison Ford was like, I'm going to fucking walk if you pull this shit again. Deckard is human or I walk. And so he was replaced with Denis Villeneuve.
I don't know that Ridley Scott in his current iteration would have given us a better movie because he's been firing blanks on and off for the last few years. Prometheus is a horrible movie.
Well, the ridiculousness of it, when he started promoting that this film was going to happen, he started showing that opening scene with storyboards, and those storyboards were from 1981. They were the original opening of Blade Runner, the farm scene. That whole farm scene was from the original 1982 film. It just got cut.
No wonder it's better than the rest of the movie.
So I really loved this scene coming up, well, at least as far as the slideshow is concerned, between Paul and Irulan, because seeing them interact prior to all the craziness and getting a sense of how they see themselves and the machinery of everything and the relationship to each other, that really helps establish how their dynamic is going to work by the end of the movie, because there's not a whole lot between the two of them again over the course of the miniseries, but just having these quiet moments of conversation between these characters that lets you know, like, they have an understanding of where they fit in the politics of the houses and everything. Whereas you don't really get that, as far as I remember, in the Lynch version. And I don't think Irulan even showed up in the first part of Dune 1 for Denis' version, if I'm not mistaken.
No.
Yeah, so it's like you don't even have a sense that he exists.
In his mind, he thinks that the story is being told by Chani.
Oh man, I gotta make this one big complaint about the first Dune part, is that the opening sequence with Chani on the war front against the Harkonnens, destroying the idea that Chani is a vision in Paul's dreams, making her the narrator from the get-go.
Yeah, it was a mistake.
Completely. When I saw the movie, I was like, "What are you doing?" She's supposed to be a sort of myth in Paul's mind until he encounters her the first time. You rob the entire power of that first interaction if you tell us up front, oh no, she's really a fighter out on the lines against the Harkonnen, and she's narrating this. Like, what?
Right.
Clearly Villeneuve doesn't understand this this book, this story.
He doesn't respect it.
Understand. He doesn't understand this.
I'm not sure
Hey,
he wants to understand it.
And welcome, Capitino. It's always good to see you, man. Yes, Julie Cox was excellent in this and in the subsequent.
I'll tell you another guy I don't like for the same reasons is Mike Flanagan.
Really?
Yeah, I have problems with him.
I really like Midnight Mass. Midnight Mass is really good. I like that.
He thinks that he can tell stories better than the original author.
Okay.
And it bugs me when he
I hadn't
does that.
seen
Like,
Gerald Game, so I haven't seen him do adaptations before, so I don't know.
well, he did. Well, he's done a lot. Most of his career is adaptations. Haunting of Hill House, in particular, just I really didn't like it. Oddly, I like the latest series or season of the Haunting series because he was doing basically adaptations of little Edgar Allan Poe stories.
Yeah, the Fall House of Usher. Yeah, I actually like most of that. There was a couple of things I was going.
I was surprised how much I enjoyed it. I'm like, finally, Mike Flanagan made a series I liked.
Richard III starring Ian McKellen. Richard, that was already done.
That's a great.
That's a great movie.
Here.
Yeah.
That makes Magneto do movies, right? He hadn't been in one before.
Yeah, and the adaptation to make it a World War II setting and everything was perfect. It was done excellent.
Brilliant.
Great.
Especially the ending payoff with My Kingdom for a Horse with the I won't give it away, but the way they worked that in. That was one of the best Shakespeare adaptations I've ever seen. Like, it's rare to be moved by one of those, especially set in modern day. Like Taming the Shrew, complete opposite.
There was a version of Macbeth that I'm very fond of.
This has to be the best Gurney Gallic ever.
Oh yeah, PJ Moriarty's the best Gurney. I mean, and no offense to Patrick Stewart, but ultimately, just as far as like passion, and you believe that this guy was saved from some slave pit, gladiator arena thing, PJ Moriarty pulls it off.
You could go after Patrick Stewart a little bit. It's okay with me.
I love Throne of Blood, which was the Japanese version of Macbeth. In fact, I consider it the best. And then there's this bizarre Christopher Walken film that came out, I think in early 2000. Yeah, 2001, called Scotland, PA. And it's a modern telling of Macbeth. And I enjoyed the crap out of it.
Did you ever hear about the Orson Welles production of setting Macbeth in darkest Africa, and it was all African tribes and a full black cast on stage?
Oh, that would have been fantastic.
Yeah, there's still photos of it out there somewhere of the production, but yeah, it was completely set in African tribal thing, and so you get like the witches were like witch doctor things, and it was just amazing looking. But that's a long time ago.
Who's in like the sort of standard one they make you watch in school? The one from like 59.
Oh, geez.
Oh, the one with Orson Welles.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, because there is an Orson Welles Macbeth, and I'm like, I don't remember anything that colorful, so to speak.
No, he did this as his own project, Broadway production. I don't think it ever made it to film. There might be film clips of it, but
thank you.
Let me look it up real quick. Macbeth. I'm thinking of Othello with Orson Welles.
Oh yeah, Orson Welles was an Othello. Did he do Macbeth?
High School was a while ago.
No, that's what I got in my head for a second there.
Yeah.
There was a 54 version that had Judith Anderson and Maurice Evans.
Wait, Dr. Zayas?
oh, Dr. Zayas. Help me, Dr. Zayas.
Dr. Zayas, Dr.
Zayas. Right? Dr. Zayas. I was waiting for the Simpsons callback. The final song in that Planet of the Apes send up where they finally made a monkey out of me by Troy McClure is the funniest thing.
Oh my God.
Oh, man.
I needed oxygen and after that scene.
Yeah, so here when he finds Mapes dead on the floor as compared to the Denis Villeneuve, like, oh, I know who Mapes is. I've had some interaction with her with other characters. Not that she shows up in one scene and disappears forever, and then she's dead. Like, oh no, Mapes. Like,
may I just throw in there? Doesn't his lair and his aesthetic and his, I guess it's his castle, but doesn't it sort of look like the ship and the view from the ship that Paul Bettany has in wonderful movie Solo that I walked out of about halfway through? This is a little better, but kind of similar.
see, every time I think of the movie Solo, I first think of Mario Van Peebles.
Jesus.
No,
Yeah.
sorry, yeah, because the first time I ever saw the movie Solo, I was like, wait, Solo?
That was a terrible, terrible movie.
Oh, it was terrible, but it was
so
like
bad.
Yeah, but
both movies are terrible.
Yeah. I just can't get past the sort of Babylon 5 Star Trek Next Generation costuming in some of these instances. I still just love it. It's just so sentimental to me because it really does feel like a stage play in so many ways because everything's a little bit over the top, a little bit more grandiose.
Well, that is really how this miniseries looked.
Yeah.
It was
for
like
so much less. Sorry, okay.
Yeah. I gathered some stuff. These are two versions of Macbeth I liked. This was a really good one. Men of Respect.
Oh wow.
Did it as a mobster story.
Yeah, I remember that.
Very good version. And this classic Throne of Blood with Toshiro Mifune, directed by Akira Kurosawa. Great version of Macbeth. But there is something very theatrical about this miniseries, this first one.
Well, I mean, Dune was like one of the original space operas, so it's very fitting in that way. For some reason, I whenever I watch this, I also and I know this is dating me even more, but I think back to like the old PBS Masterpiece Theater type of things with like I, Claudius, and you have these very sort of cloistered sets.
Oh man, I love
the costuming, and it's not. I mean, obviously the production values are relatively modest and everything, but that just really it's more striking as to just how well the performances have to carry the story in light of the maybe cheesiness of everything around it, but it all fits. It creates a world unto itself that works for the like just here, the Baron and his red and his black in contrast to the beige and everything in the background. And you've got this sort of, he's an invader. He doesn't belong there. And like by this point, Duke Leto feels like he belongs in this place because they've established a sort of transition of overtaking the control of Arrakis. And then he comes in and it's got the red light on him and everything. And it's just so good.
So what was Tim saying? He sent me a message. What did he say?
Oh, about Voodoo Macbeth.
Right, that's what it was called. That was referred to as the Orson Welles version.
Sent me an image. So here you go. Here's an image from it.
Yes, there you go.
Voodoo Macbeth.
Mm-hmm.
You do that voodoo that you do.
Voodoo, you voodoo, bitch.
Now, if I remember right, the backgrounds for the desert scenes were all like these gigantic, like backlit scrims or whatever.
Yeah, well, it's all matte paints.
Well, I don't know they were matte paintings. I thought they were like actual like.
No, there were matte.
There are backdrops on certain ones.
Oh, that's what I mean. Backdrops, not like they would like matte paintings, like they were forced perspective into the frame or something. But like a lot of the times when they were on the dunes and things, it was big backlit scrims. I mean, this is obviously green screened in, but when they were like rolling around on the dunes. Like before they had the volume, they had like giant sheets of paintings that were hanging out.
Hey, that man Walk is in the house.
Hey, what's up?
Hello to my friend Dadman.
And I like the internal monologues that they would have with themselves as characters. And once again, I want to tell you again, right there, great image of her. She was a much better Lady Jessica.
Mm-hmm.
I like Alison Krieg, But Alison Krieger is best playing haunted characters because
Yeah.
she's got eyes that are very haunting.
And she just has a very severe way of speaking. And Saskia Reeves just had a very, again, cultured, royal, measured way of expressing herself. And she had that sort of like inborn dignity. You felt like this was really someone who was not royal born, but had come to that world. Yeah. Yeah, she was just had enough sass underneath the royal that you could tell that she was coming from someplace else. But also when you saw her in the early stages when she's having to interact with the Reverend Mother, and you just see all of that wash away and just see her like cower. As compared to any other situation you see her later interacting with the servants or the other people or anything else. As soon as the Reverend Mother shows up, she turns into this penitent little girl running away from everything.
The Litany Against Fear, which was so poorly used in the new version.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're curious what she looks like today, I'll show you a picture.
Who, Saskia Reeves?
Yeah.
I think she's aged pretty well, I think.
She's still beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she is.
This is from Boardroom Politics. Blue Horses. She's the lady that was an alcoholic in the show, and it's one of my favorite shows. Slow Horses.
Whoops.
Oopsie. I guess it's incumbent upon us to rate who was the best portrayal of different characters here amongst the three films, and I think
he was great as the Baron, but I didn't like Fide, but I liked Beast Robin in this.
Raban in this, he came across as the best sort of like childish bully brute in this because they gave him other things to do than just sort of like be in the background. So yeah, the Baron in this one, Fayed. I don't know that they ever really got him that right. I mean, they gave him more to do in this one, but the actor, he's not terrible, but they just didn't do enough, I think, with how they could portray him. I don't know how else to put it. I mean, Sting is just sort of iconic, just as a look, but...
And he's a terrible actor, Sting. But
yeah, he is.
He's memorable as Fade. I think the new kid is weird looking in the new movie, but
I don't like the whole bald thing.
Scenes, it was weird.
Nothing about Sting would lead you to believe that he would be a good actor. Even like live, he's a great performer, but between songs, he's sort of brittle and annoyed with his audience. Not like what you would call a gracious guy to his audience. I've seen him tell people to shut up. He's not John Cougar Melonhead, but he's on that kind of track. A lot more talented.
All right. So who's the best
acting will sting you?
Yeah.
Good one thing.
Who's the best Duke Leto?
Oh, no question. Because I really like every single actor who's played him. But I
was really good.
Which one?
Jurgen
was
oh,
really
fuck
good.
now.
Yeah.
Jurgen's got a lot of style. I don't know. I'm
Hurt's good though. I mean, I see like they're almost on like an even keel, but they're two different kind of. You know what I mean? Like, because in real life, I don't think William Hurt's all that likable, which is a problem. He's supposed to be playing this very likable guy, but yeah.
My real problem with oh my god, you have said your name. The one we lost recently.
William Hurt.
William Hurt.
Oh,
he doesn't have the Atreides look. He's the only problem.
Here's the thing I really like about William Hurt's performance is that you get the sense in the performance that he knows he is a doomed character because of the situation he's been put in with Atreides being assigned Arrakis. Jurgen Prochnow has that little twinkle in his eye, and he's got a little bit of adventurous. What's his name? I suddenly forget the guy who did the new one. Oscar Isaac. Oscar Isaac has a little bit of that, like he has a foreknowledge that things are not aligned well, but there's still just a little bit too much swash to his buckle. Whereas William Hurt, he comes across from the get-go, as soon as this lines up, is like he knows that he is in a losing battle, and every scene is just like he's trying to prepare Paul for what he knows is going to happen. And so with all the prophecies and everything else, that's the one part of the William Hurt performance that always spoke to me more than the other two, is that he knows he's in a losing fight from the get-go, but he's working as hard as he can to make the best of it.
I can see the truth of that. However, man, Oscar Isaac, he had two problems. First one was his stature, and the second one was his voice.
Yeah.
Leto need to have a powerful voice, a commanding voice, and Oscar Isaac doesn't have it. But if you don't show him full body, he is the image of Duke Leto Atreides.
Who?
Isaacs.
Oh, yeah, no, he has a great look. Yeah,
Yes,
he looks really good. I mean, he also has a little bit of that Jurgen Prochnow, a little bit with the beard and everything. Yeah. Best Cheney, and not the one that shot the guy in the face. Ba-dum-bum.
Best.
Can't say Zendaya. Just the way.
No.
So it's either our lady here.
I'm torn because this one acted better, but Shan Jong, she absolutely looked the part. I would say that Shan Jong had the worst script.
Oh, of the two?
Yeah. Oh, War Monkey says that this is the best Chani. I like to be that. If I love to be able to say that without fighting, because I have a struggle between Shan Jong and this actress.
I think this this version gave her the most showcase
Agency?
for what the character should be, as far as the book, because she was you could and especially the chemistry between her and Alec I forget his last name, Newman, right?
Yes.
You could tell they were completely devoted to each other, and you saw in her interactions with other characters how she understood her place in the grand scheme. But again, that's to the efficiency of the storytelling in this and the characterizations as compared to the other adaptations, is because they give each character a little time with other characters so you can see how they develop and where they fit. And she did a great job of just being like the sort of dutiful concubine. She knew her place, but she also knew that she was, by the end of it, in a position far more important than Irulan ever would be.
Yeah. And now War Monkey says she was better than Children of Dune, acting wise. Yes, that is true. But I think it has much to do with here is when you can see the real depth of the relationship between she and Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love Stilgar. This guy is good.
Yeah, Stilgar in this is great. So good.
Yeah, although I like the actor they replace him with in Children of Dune, I thought this one was pretty well cast.
Yeah, because in Children of Dune, Stilgar's character was reduced to "Let me take his water." Let
me take his water.
Yeah, let me take his water. Little rabid pit bull.
Come on, Stilgar. He just needs. I don't care. Let me take his water.
Yes. I'm thirsty. Yeah, Zendaya, I don't know. It's two combinations of things. On the one hand, I've never found her that compelling an actress, and on the other hand, how the character was written for the new movies just does not fit.
I blame more
Sometimes it looks
the
terrible.
script.
It was
Because
worth it for the dress, the premiere, but yeah.
And I do think we should do Children of Dune at some point in the future. If it's on
please.
Tom's in my show or not, I'd like to cover this because it is a good miniseries.
Yeah, it has some points of departure, but I still love it. Well, Shaitan's Hammer, I don't think Denis made still got a laughing stock. I
Yeah,
don't
because
think he did.
Stilgar, as Tom mentioned earlier, in Children of Dune is played by Stephen Burkoff from Beverly Hills Cop. He's a great bad guy.
Commanding armies of religious fanatics on a holy war is funny, though. Okay, War Monkey. Definitely, you are a war monkey.
That's a good question, though. Like, which of the movies do you think carried off the existential, quasi-spiritual element of the story the best, or at least represented it best?
Again,
I gotta be honest, I don't
this-
think any of them really did.
this one. No, this one.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, we are at the half of the show. Oh,
Pause time.
okay.
Time for Tom's commercial.
Oh, yeah. Let me take down the banner and we'll see you after the break.
Meet the Seattle Vigilante. Like so many comic heroes, this warrior hides his identity. But his identity isn't the only secret he has to keep. After grievous wounds received during combat, Tier 1 operator John Russell begins to recover and comes to terms with his new reality of being an amputee. And as he learns how to use his new prosthetic limb, he finds himself caught up in the bureaucratic red tape that too many wounded veterans experience, the exhausting medboard process. Out of sheer frustration, John takes it out on the criminal scum of the city. But when reality kicks in, John realizes he started something that's having an impact on the greater world around him, and thus has to reevaluate his motives. And moreover, just how far is John willing to go to finish this war he's declared against the criminals in Seattle? And will he even survive? From the creator of IDW's award-winning graphic novel Code Word Geronimo comes a new story about a different kind of warrior, Vindicated Inc., the first of its kind disabled veteran action hero comic. The Vindicated Inc. graphic novel crowdfunding campaign on fundmycomic.com is provided in the description of this video. We hope you become a contributor. Please share this link. Thank you.
Give to this project or we'll shoot this dog.
What?
It's
I
from
hope it's not
National Lampoon.
magazine.
Yeah.
I hope it's not a poke.
It's one of my favorite covers. The dog's like tilting its eyes are cockeyed looking at the guy holding the gun against his head. I love that cover.
I just saw a good example what Tom's talking about with those sort of Mandarin collar military, like late 20th century-ish sort of looking uniforms. Those are on the still suits.
No, I've said that before. Zendaya cannot act.
She's inaccessible. I don't know why she's considered beautiful either. I mean, she's non-ugly is the word I would use.
Yeah.
Hey, but the kid likes her. You know, good for him.
You know, the one thing that I don't think any of the adaptation, at least, well, granted, like the Denis one hasn't finished yet technically, but the whole, the sort of element of how Lady Jessica and Paul are effectively pulling a con job on the Fremen and
Fremen,
everything, that they
yeah.
that he's the prophet and everything else, which, I mean, because it's all been organized in the past by the Bene Gesserits, so it's all just one big lie, but there's also, you got the supernatural element to it. But yeah, that's the one part that I don't, and not even in this one, even though this is, like I say, I think probably the best adaptation, I'm not quite sure they pulled off getting that element across in the story clear enough to the audience that really all of this was preordained by conspiracy and that they're just fulfilling one giant grift effectively.
Right. And I think it starts out that way, but Paul begins to understand that this is not a coincidence. This isn't an accident. And Paul's the one who moves in that direction, that he believes it.
Yeah. Well, he has to. He has no choice but to effectively believe it, or I mean, in later stories, of course, he becomes all disillusioned and he kind of understands.
There's a difference between believing and knowing. And he knows because of his prescience abilities.
Yeah.
And he tries to avoid that. He doesn't want to be seen as Muad'Dib. That is why he came up with the name Paul Muad'Dib, trying to strive from the path that is unavoidable in reality. But the thing is, he and Jessica, they were more in the vein of let the legend carry us. We don't say we are the legend,
right?
But we don't correct the people who said that we are the legend.
Well,
Instead, in this new version, Jessica was basically a villain. He said, I'm going to convince them, and I'm going to begin with the more vulnerable, the more gullible. Oh, man, that
it reminds me of a Mark Twain. I think it's a Mark Twain quote. If I'm appropriating it, somebody correct me. But it's something to the effect of, give a man a reputation as a early riser, and that man can sleep until noon. It's sort of like you just, give the impression that you are the prophet, but don't say it. Let other people's imaginations fill in the negative space for you. Yeah, like I say, just carry you forward. Yeah, to use to your own ends to get the revenge on the Harkonnen and everything else.
I do got to say, Chani's got a nice rack.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Well said. Well said.
They make sure we get to enjoy it in the international cut.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. The international cut has Chani topless. It also has the orgy scene at one point.
Oh,
which is
Can
cut
you
or
record that and send it to me? Just that scene? Those scenes?
Pretty sure you can find it. You're savvy.
I'll slice them into my own cut.
I think this one has the more attractive Chani out of all three, honestly. I'm sorry, Sean Young. Just the hair bun just doesn't do it for me.
I know Sean Young, and I've had a crush on her since I was...
Oh, she's gorgeous. Especially
18.
Blade Runner. Holy cats.
She's in two of the seminal sci-fi films, serious, dramatic sci-fi films of the 80s, Dune and Blade Runner. And she was gorgeous as Chani. So I can't see anybody else as Chani but her.
Okay.
I feel you.
And I still have this amazing life where I get occasional selfies sent to me from her phone. She'll just take a photo and send it. Like, how did I get this life? I don't know.
Oh, here's when he's getting his name. That thing I think they simplified it too much in because they left out completely the whole name Usul, which is an internal Fremen name.
Was it me, or did they leave out a lot of stuff like that in the new film?
Yes.
Oh yeah. They shortened everything. They condensed everything down.
They also left out the weirding.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
There was no weirding. Man, there are no. Don't make me started.
Yeah, I know. It's just every time I think about the new one, I just think again, my entire sort of aside from the Lynch version, this was always sort of like my version of Dune growing up because it's been around for 20 years and I always thought it was great. And then I saw the new one and I just felt like so much. How do you screw this up so much with the exact same amount? I mean, around the same running time of the first part of a miniseries, and it just feels like everything was just left beside. It just boggles me the production value, the efficiency of scripting, and everything else this has. 20 years older than a hundreds of millions of dollars thing, and it just feels so much more empty than this one. Felt like it had life to it. It had something going on. There was a world beyond just what we're looking at right now because of the way they set everything up. It just boggles me sometimes how some people can be given a budget of X that exceeds anything that the Godfather had with the exact same amount of running time and end up with a piece of garbage. Like how?
Well, it kind of reminds me of what we were talking with Dean Cain about earlier this last week.
Mm-hmm.
Where he talked about where he basically was working nonstop for months on an end to put out Superman. It's basically, I don't think these kids nowadays, these actors nowadays would even know what it's like to have to do a 22 to 24 episode season of any show, let alone like these kind of shows, which were very prestigious miniseries they used to do all the time. I remember all these were very special events.
Mm-hmm.
Like even for a cable channel to do something of this caliber was a big deal back then.
Yeah.
I remember this being a very, prolific event when it happened. In fact, I mean, they put out all sorts of press on it, and it was a big deal because they were actually going for, the gusto and trying to adapt the unadaptable, right? And they managed to pull it off in a weird way.
Legitimizes the Sci-Fi Channel until they throw that away with the crazy reality shows and the aliens stuff.
Jeez, yeah. Well, it just shows how overblown everything's become and how everything's on a fucking treadmill now. Just got it's content and not cinema. It's fill up things. I mean, and also I think, and I know I'm not the first person to say something like this, and there's better analysts out there, but just the fact that we don't have time slots anymore. It's all just, you can stream anything, anytime, whatever. Everything's a vending machine for whatever garbage comes out instead of having to be curated and thought about. And like, we want to put the best thing ever and make sure we get the most eyes on it and make sure it lasts so we can do it in reruns and syndication, everything. All those forces are gone now. And it's just like, what's the next thing we can put out for the next, clickbait thing that'll keep people's attention for 10 seconds since they're all TikTok conditioned now for like 30-second videos.
The things on screen and in frame here look so much better than modern, say, Disney. Like the Kenobi show lacked this amount of tactility. It's so much better. Like the sins of streaming have erased any problems people might have had with this production. It looks better than modern TV.
If you can get Tom's got the copy of like with the all the behind the scenes stuff, or if you can find one of the copies of the director's cut deal. If you watch the behind the scenes again, I swear I feel like I'm looking at just a smaller scaled down version of the behind the scenes stuff for Lord of the Rings, because you see people who care about what they are doing. They are passionate about the source material. They want to get this as right as they can within the confines of what they have available to them. And you compare that to, I keep thinking of what's her name, Jack Schaefer or whatever, who did WandaVision, all these other things, who had no idea who Mephisto was until after the show was completed. You're doing a show about Wanda Maximoff, and you don't even know who Mephisto is? I hate I hate the people they put in charge of these shows. It just drives me nuts.
If you'd known, would he have gotten hired, right?
Well, that's the thing. They don't want they don't want you to be tied to the source material.
If you look back at the way it was in the 70s, Kathleen Kennedy and Kevin Feige would have been fired.
Oh yeah,
early on for some of their fuck ups, because the studio system did not tolerate that crap.
Well, they wouldn't have accepted the losses they created either, except that you have
That's what I'm
Disney, who's like, they've got unlimited funds and they got billions of dollars every other. So they feel like they've got the room to maneuver, just like, we have one mess up, whatever. And it's all cult of personality stuff rather than having an Ike Perlmutter there who's actually watching the numbers and the digits and everything, going like, no, this isn't working. We have to move, etc. You need somebody who's much more strict.
The first time they attacked their own audiences, the studios would have kicked them to the curb, and they would, with words like "they'll never work in this town again," and they would be sweeping floors or making coffee badly somewhere else.
This is another thing that I thought was weird with this series is some of the choices of colors. The blues, the harsh blues and harsh greens. On Arrakis.
No. They say in the documentaries and on the behind the scenes, they say they took that from theater, directly from theater, to express swings between good and evil.
And mood and everything else.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mood, that is.
It looked weird.
Yes. I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm just saying where they came up with that idea.
You'd call this experiment a failure in the innovative lighting department?
No.
Well, they also had to hide the black light. They had to hide the black light during night scenes and things. So to have that weird blue, I think, was part of the reason to still get the eyes to glow, but to explain you having the black light off camera without any natural light to sort of drown it out.
They did do a great job with the eyes. It's so unworldly.
Yeah, it works really well.
I
like the hats in this. I don't know. The Bene Gesserit hats I like a lot better than just like the bald. And these guys, the Spacing Guild guy is one of my favorite characters because he's just so over the top, creepy, and over exaggerated. But I can't help but love him. He's just so strange.
He's always speaking, doing katas.
Yeah. Yes, his hand movements, his gesticulations are just perfect.
There's something almost Flash Gordon-like about the Bene Gesserit outfit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's Deep Space Nine-y a little too.
Well, they definitely worked to contrast this to make sure when you were watching this, you didn't think, I'm just watching a remake of the Lynch version. They made everything much more distinct in design and everything. And again, each civilization has a very unique look to it that you can just look at a character without having to say anything or know what they're doing, and just by their outfit, by their outfit you shall know them. And so this is a Harkonnen, this is a Carino, this is the Bene Gesserit. All these little things made it really good.
Exactly. And by the way, Winsome Hacks, we will do it in the future. I'll see if it's going to be something to do on one of the Tom and Gerry shows, or if we should do it just on a regular Saturday afternoon matinee.
Yeah, the Spacing Guild guy, just this side of maybe too much, but especially at the end, in the last scene. Yeah, we had Chani. She's gorgeous. She
did not age well, by the way, the actress.
Oh, really? I haven't seen her since the Children of Dune.
See if I can find a picture of her. She got some really weird jowl lines. Here we go.
Does it look like she was a really beautiful actress who got to have a whole lot of fun and just didn't go to sleep for like 10 years? We know that. We've seen that look.
Oh, she didn't go all Bridget Fonda, did she?
Oh, wow, that was a transformation.
Okay.
She's not as bad as Bridget Fonda.
No, she's
could
fine.
be worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, she looks fine. But Bridget Fonda, wow. What?
Yeah, I mean, her face could have been ripped off. Yeah, I mean, it could be worse. Shut up.
Oh, my God.
It could have been worse.
Could have been worse. Yeah.
She groomed herself today. She doesn't look too bad.
She could have had a chimpanzee rip her face off and take a shit. Yeah, it could have been worse.
Well, here's one thing. She didn't say carve a new weird looking face onto the one that was already there or anything else like that.
Right. Like Aaron Moriarty from Boys or something.
Or Katie
However,
Sackhoff.
Katie
Julie
Sackhoff,
Cox,
yeah.
Julie Cox is still a very gorgeous woman.
Oh yeah, Julie Cox has aged very well. Yeah.
Oh yeah, she's damn gorgeous. God damn.
Yeah, I'm staying way back
Shit,
from that Bridget
goddamn.
Fonda thing. Talking
Oh,
about that on
did
my
you know-
channel upset a few people.
Do you know the Giannini? He was on set only using the top part of the costume.
Sure.
Yeah, he
only-
was using from the waist down. He was on pajamas and slippers. And
Pajamas?
yes, and when he came into the set the first time, everybody looks at him and said, "What? I'm the emperor of the universe.
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
dress what I want." Okay.
By the way, worst performance in the Dune films, the new ones, is absolutely Christopher Walken. Complete waste of talent. He's not even really acting in it. It's like, you're going to hire Christopher Walken. You have Christopher Walken do what Christopher Walken does. You know?
Exactly.
They
You can't tame me.
restrained him. And
So do you think it was Denis Villeneuve? I can never say his name correctly. How do you say it?
I think it's
Villeneuve.
Villeneuve. Okay. Do you think he didn't give Walken enough direction, or just let him do his?
I think he
just gave him too much.
Too much.
You think so?
Restrained him.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, this is the thing. People do get very touchy about the Bridget Fonda thing, so that's why I just kind of try to stay away from anybody who's gotten older. They just look great.
I know. I didn't mean anything personal by it. Just as far as like contrast between one era to another. It's all.
I didn't know
was a
she was Gurgurniak. I know
transformation.
she was in an accident, but
You
she
know,
made
I
a
didn't know that.
choice to leave film and be the supporting factor of the household with the children and with her husband, Danny Elfman, the man who destroyed music.
Yeah, then if you look at him, and it's nothing but cosmetic surgery, and he's all into how he looks. And
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
really
this is a
weird. The
strange
surgeries he's
couple.
had on his face.
He looks like Carrot
He
Top,
looks-
but like
The
like
best
eight-
he ever did was
Yep.
in the 80s, back when he was with Oingo Boingo.
The poor man's Devo.
Well, he made some great themes for Batman and other movies in that.
I
so
never
like,
liked
Weird
that.
science.
Really?
I don't like
This is
his
just
version of
fun.
marches. Don't like his version of the march. John
Really?
Williams understands how a march works.
Mm,
Danny
all
Elfman
right.
doesn't. That's why when Family Guy would make fun of Danny Elfman,
Yes.
I laughed so fucking hard because
has a
In
music
the
degree.
Star Wars special.
Yeah.
Seth has a music degree. He knows exactly how to pay off a Danny Elfman joke against another musician.
yeah, just he nailed it. It was what really bugged me about it. Everything sounds like a fucking oompa loompa oompa 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 oompa. Fucking oompa, oompa,
Yeah, no, his
oompa,
best
oompa,
movie
oompa,
theme
oompa.
song to me is
However,
Weird Science.
Beetlejuice is his best
yes,
theme song.
Yes, Beetlejuice.
it works in Beetlejuice.
I'll
It's
go with the
perfect.
Oingo Boingo Weird Science theme.
What was it called? The Discount Evo? Devo?
This guy, the
This
poor
guy's
man's
Count
Devo.
Oh my God.
They are. It's like instead of freedom of choice, it's like autonomy of decision. Our new
We are
album.
not men. We are Devo.
We are not Devo. We are Oingo Boingo, and we're sorry. We'll keep the lights low during the show. You can pretend we're a better band.
So I haven't seen part 2, but I've seen a couple of stills. Do they really only have Walken in like a judge's smock and like nothing fancy? Because it looked like he's just wearing like a black bag over his body. Did they like not give him any pomp or circumstance in the film?
Are you asking me what were you asking?
Yeah, no, I haven't seen Dune Part 2. So when Walken shows up, is there like anything that makes him look like an emperor, or is he just like a guy?
No,
in a-
not really. It was really
A
really
wimp.
weird.
The
Was it?
Whimperer.
Oh God!
Doesn't make any
nothing like
sense.
true romance with Christopher Walken, huh?
See, I love the Emperor in the Lynch version. He looks very sort of like regal, royal. I forget the actor's name. He's so good. I think he's my
Costumes
favorite
Jose
super
emperor.
Ferrer.
well.
He's
Yeah.
Jose
Looks
Ferrer.
great.
Yeah, Jose Ferrer. That's right. Yeah, Jose Ferrer. Yeah, I think he's my favorite representation
He
of the
is the
Emperor
best
of the three.
version of the Emperor, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Nah, I like this one.
I don't know. There's something about Jose Ferrer's earring that just kind of makes me think more of a space pirate that I like a lot more.
He was very powerful when he was on screen in that movie. It was a memorable performance, so
Yeah.
I got to give it to him.
Yeah, he had great voice, and the outfit looked decidedly Royal Imperial military
Yes.
and everything else. Yeah,
100%.
so he's my favorite of the emperors. Not that I have anything against Giancarlo Giannini, but really, some of those outfits, a bit no.
Okay, when I think of Christopher Walken in particular, I think of this particular scene and his delivery of this line. And when you get Christopher Walken, you give him meaty dialogue.
Who he is.
See,
You
when
just
I think,
don't get a better scene than that.
well,
He's from-
I'll see you and I'll raise you. True romance between him and Dennis Hopper.
Yeah.
Because I
Well, yeah,
really,
miles
Tickle Trunk
away.
just brought up the watch. Here's Tickle Trunks. I hid the spice up my ass.
Like, for a guy who comes from one town away from where I am in Queens, I would never place him as a New Yorker. He has an absolutely inaugurable accent because of the way he delivers.
Yeah, no, but him and True Romance, I think, was probably masterclass. Walken, that was just so great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
The scene with
but
Hopper.
if you
When
can't,
he
but,
had
yeah,
Hopper
like,
to play off of too. That's the
well,
thing.
yeah, that didn't hurt. But I mean, I haven't seen Dune Part 2, but if you can't turn Christopher Walken into a menacing imperial force with his
Exactly.
abilities,
Is the lion.
I don't
Yeah.
know what they were thinking with him
Ask
in that.
Natalie Wood about that one.
Because they even
absolutely.
go against the book in that, not to dump on Dune 2, since we're here to talk about the other thing. But yeah, no, you guys are right. Because, like, in the book, from my memory, like, he's an older gentleman, but he's also been taking the spice. So he comes off as a very virile young
Mhm.
man, more so. So, like, okay, you've got Christopher Walken in there. He's clearly an old man, but he's also somebody who can Christopher Walken it up like that usually. So why didn't you turn him on and set him loose? Right? Like, if you're gonna have Christopher Walken, it's like having it's almost like having, Nicolas Cage in your movie and not having him say a word. Like that stupid
Wait a
scary
minute.
movie he was in.
Wait a minute. That was nice.
I don't know about that. I just can't get behind that. To me, it's like half of Nicolas Cage's performance is the voice, man. Like,
His
Well-
facial acting is.
yeah, maybe I'll give it a shot one of these days. But it's just, to me, it's like his performance is in his voice, kind of like Shatner. You know what I mean? Like,
I understand that, and I had my reservations, but I watched the movie, and man,
the only reason I might is because I know that's his. It was his choice, wasn't it, or something like that, or was that the way it was scripted? I don't remember, but yeah.
Well, it's something interesting you just says. Like, you don't mean to talk about Dune Part 2, but here's the thing: you can't help but talk about Dune Part 2 because the miniseries brings the story elements together so much more efficiently that we meet the Emperor before we get to the second part of the miniseries, whereas in Dune, we don't even know the guy exists practically until Dune Part 2.
Yeah. Yeah. And here
And
you
you
go,
only-
another prime example.
I got a fever.
Yeah,
Oh,
that one. And
Oh, you're talking to me all wrong. It's the wrong tone.
does your mother sew? Bam! Have a sew that. I love that movie, Joe Dirt.
I mean, he must be intimidating in every single shot he is in.
Has Nicolas Cage and Walken ever been in a movie together? Maybe I'm just blanking. If they haven't, they.
Oh my
should be.
god! Can you imagine that?
I can't suss it up, but yeah, Nicolas Cage. The other thing with his delivery is that you have to like take an audible breath before you start yelling. It's like, oh, and then you know what I mean.
Yes, I know.
Okay,
Man,
so who should Nicolas Cage play in the Dune universe then?
The most frustrated person at the
You're
end
gonna
of the
play
road.
Fade.
Yeah,
Yes.
that'd be great. Or Raban. Actually, he'd make a great Raban if you think about it. Put like full on Nicolas
Mr.
Cage and
Rocky.
Raban. Yeah.
I want to see him in the Patrick Stewart role from the '84 movie. Oh, these sandworms are gonna come here. We gotta be careful, man.
Maybe Dr. Kynes.
No. no,
Yeah. No, too much. Okay. Okay. Too much.
Oh, Otheum.
Duncan,
Maybe
Idaho.
Gorba. Maybe Gorba.
Duncan, Idaho. Nicolas Cage is Duncan, Idaho. I mean,
yeah. Yeah. When he's with Paul, he should be full Nicolas Cage.
I think this version did the best explanation, or at least representation, of the whole Lady Jessica vision of the other memory, as compared to anything else we've seen so far.
Wait. Shaitan's Hammer says Nick Cage as Count Fenric. I will counter that. Peter de Vries.
I was about to say Piter might be about it, yeah, because Piter is this sniveling little weirdo, and Cage would be good for that.
Question?
Yeah, I think this sequence did the best to explain.
This is a good question.
Yeah.
Does anyone know why Lynch had the pug in it?
I don't know what it was. That's not something in the book, is it? I can't remember now.
No, it's not in the book.
I think so if it's not in the book, then my memory goes to, and this may be completely inaccurate, but just for some reason my memory goes to it was a sign of wealth, I guess, to him to have these dogs or whatever, and they were the Duke's dogs, so that's why they were so important, I guess. I swear I remember something like Lynch or somebody said something like that at some point. If I'm completely misquoting somebody, please correct me in the chat, but for some reason that's where my memory goes with all the crap that I got crammed in there with Dune.
Well, there was a bit of throwback, because having a dog that was completely not like most people had dogs because they did work on the farm or something. It was a practical,
it's a prestige dog basically.
Yeah, prestige dog, and it was a throwback to like the Renaissance paintings of like, rich people posing with their hounds or their cats or something, because it was,
I think that's where Lynch got it from. Yeah.
Because a pug is a completely impractical dog for like
then again, Lynch is just fucking weird. He could have been just sitting there one day going, you know what this scene needs more than anything else in the whole world? A pug. And they're like, what? We're trying to figure out the lights here. I fuck your lights. Somebody find me a pug. They're cute.
And then draw a portrait with the Duke with the pug. I need that on the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's probably where it came from. It's just that, like you just said, like that idea of it's a prestigious thing for it to have a dog. Like it's not an actual hound dog or anything like that.
Right.
It is a dog that was genetically designed to have medical problems.
Exactly, a breathing problems.
Yeah. The pug dogs all have massive eye and fucking nasal problems as they get older. It's what kills them. People go, oh, they're so adorable. I'm like, no, they're not. You ever see one get so excited that their eye pops out?
Yes.
No,
I have.
I haven't seen that.
I was like 18 years old, and my girlfriend's parent had a little fucking pug dog, and fucking dog got all excited, came running into the room with an eyeball swinging.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you mean literally popped out. I mean like bug-eyed, sure.
Out of its fucking head.
Gross.
God damn.
Yeah, no, I see pugs get excited and their eyes bug out like they've got a malfunctioning thyroid or something, but actually popping out of their skull. Jeez.
They will pop out.
Good gravy.
It's fucking ridiculous. The design of their fucking skull. This is all genetically planned. Like, what kind of asshole did that? But of course, David Lynch liked it.
Sure. Maybe it was symbolic of the inherent defects of royal life or House Atreides or something. It's like, my pug dog, so representative of my house. It's all going to die soon.
Well, I also like that in this version too, it really does that scene well when Paul tells her, Johnny, I will love you to the end of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And then turns right around and marries or offers to marry the princess.
Yeah. But then Chani understands the necessity of
One's
his union to
politics and
Irulan.
the other one is love.
Yeah, and that's the thing. As compared to what I've heard about Dune Part 2 and how Chani basically throws a hissy fit or something, is that she is, yeah, she Chani in this is wise enough to understand how things work and also have the dignity of not pretending like it's something else. It just anyway. Yeah, that's why I like this one so much better.
It was such an insulting scene in the new film, and I was already having problems with her character, and then that happened. I went, "Yeah, this is not good."
No.
And the first film is only as good as its sequel because it's only part of the story. So both films are crap now, in my opinion. Oh, there's his little sister, Aaliyah.
Yep. And I think this was her first and I believe only ever acting job, and she does great as Aaliyah.
I do have to say, we have Paul Atreides, Luke Skywalker, and his little sister, Princess Leia, Aaliyah. I don't think it's a coincidence that Lucas didn't even try hide some of the things he borrowed.
What about the deep kiss on Hoth?
The what?
That wasn't a deep kiss.
That mouse kind of.
It's a kiss.
Creepy.
It's not
I've never
deep
kissed
kiss.
my
It's
sister
like
that
It's a
way.
smooch.
You didn't see tongues or anything, for God's sake.
Yeah.
I have a sister. I've never kissed her that way.
I've never kissed any of my sisters, ever.
Jeez.
Hugged them, would not kiss them.
You know what? These
I like
things
the
look
worm
great.
designs too, by the way. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the worms
what?
look really good in this.
I was just concurring with you. They look great. And I'm going to get a $5 50-foot of sandworm down at Subway after the show because that's the special connected to Dune 2, I believe.
Yeah,
Oh,
I've
you're
been
kidding,
going to
really?
Adam and Eve looking for that sandworm popcorn box, hoping eventually they'll start selling it.
Yes,
Adam and
Scribe,
Eve
I am
is an
not
adult
kidding.
sex toy company.
That
What
thing
goes into a
goes-
sandworm sub?
That thing is just wrong.
I don't know.
man.
It needs a lot of sauce.
A lot of
Lot
spice.
sauce.
A lot of spice.
I hate sandworm. It's bland and it needs sauce and it gets everywhere.
A lot of paprika. Now this thing here, right? This still where he's putting his finger up to his forehead. That was a little thing that they a little visual cue that they put to indicate his connection to Baron Harkonnen, because the Baron Harkonnen was doing that a lot during the course of the lead up to this, where he was thinking and plotting, and he would rub his fingers on his temple like that. And then Paul, just out of nowhere, having not really interacted with the Baron at that point, just starts doing it reflexively as he comes more into his realization of his connection to everything. And I thought that was a nice little throwback. Also, the color of his hair as compared to everybody else. You know, Duke Leto's a blonde, Lady Jessica's kind of a blonde, and somehow Paul has a little bit of a red tint to his hair and gets spiky by the end, just like over in the Harkonnens.
Strawberry blonde.
Mm-hmm. Now, spoiler alert for anybody in the chat who hasn't read the books or knows the story.
Because it surprised me that they kept that into the miniseries, that he knows and Jessica knows, learns that she is Harkonnen.
Yeah. Actually, I think the scene where that comes about is one that they weren't sure they were going to shoot for this. I think there were, if I'm remembering the behind the scenes stuff, there was a scene where she and he are arguing over things, and that realization comes out. And I think they were pressed for time, or they weren't sure they were able to shoot it, and then they just let him go and filmed it, and they just kind of knocked it out.
Yes, because the House Corrino was in actuality an offshoot of the House Harkonnen.
Yeah, the family tree of all the houses are all interconnected and diluted here and there. I mean, technically, I think Leto is a descendant of some line of Harkonnen technically, but just so distant that it's effectively irrelevant.
Ah, the John Pop scene.
Boy, he looks like Paul Walker right there. All right.
I was about to make an off-color joke, but I'll stave off.
Was it about climbing trees?
No, just the appearance of Paul Walker. Never mind. He's not
worms.
Yeah,
too soon, right? We got to be careful.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not a blunt force impact, Paul Walker.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. He was a hot actor there for a while.
Yeah, you could say that.
I don't know why they didn't call Chris Pine to replace him. They kind of look alike.
I don't even know how old Chris Pine would have been at that point, or even that known. Because that's the thing people also got to remember about going back to when I was being all prepared to talk about Children of Dune. Like that was a big, huge deal for McAvoy because that put him on the Mac.
Yeah,
right. Like
on the Mac.
On the Mac.
On the Mac.
On the McAvoy.
Yeah, that was my first introduction to McAvoy, I think.
I mean, yeah, he had done some other smaller stuff before that, but that was his first big, prestigious thing did. Was
that before or after Narnia?
I think it was before. Let me
look. Okay.
I was surprised how good those Narnia movies were. By the time they got to
Voyage of the 2003, it's the same year, isn't it?
It might be. Let me look.
No, but this one is 2000. Oh
no, but Children of Dune.
McAvoy.
Yeah,
McAvoy was in Children of Dune.
I got his IMDb. Hang on.
Wait. He was in Band of Brothers.
He's in what?
Band of Brothers. Let me see what his
Band of Brothers.
Oh, was he?
Says here.
Oh, yeah, that's
or
right.
Are you thinking of the Pacific for Paul Walker?
Okay, yeah, he was in Band of Brothers first. You're right. He was in one episode.
Okay.
And then he did Children of Dune after a few other smaller bits. And I'm looking for Narnia. Okay, Narnia is like a few years after Dune, actually.
Is it? Oh, okay, I thought it was.
Yeah, so Dune was kind of the thing that really set him up because after Dune is when he started doing a bit more prestigious things like Wimbledon and some other movies that were actual like movies, not just television and stuff like that.
Narnia 1 is 05 or 06.
Yeah, it's 05.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and that would be his next big thing he did.
How many times can we have Liam Neeson play God?
As many as it takes.
Yes.
Basically, whenever you can't get Morgan Freeman.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a certain set of specific acting skills.
And I hate to go off on this, but I like to get people's reaction to this because I'm a big fan of the Oh God film series, and there's one remake that I wouldn't mind seeing.
Yeah,
and that is if they crossed it over with the Bruce Almighty universe and just had Morgan Freeman play God, but with the plot of Oh God. Right?
Who plays John Denver with? Who plays John Denver?
You pick whoever. I don't give a shit. At this point, they'll just cast probably Chris Pratt, but I mean, you could find somebody who could work.
Yeah. Chris Pratt would be good.
I think because it's a movie that didn't age well, but I think that especially if you have Morgan Freeman playing God again, like I could do that. I could see that.
My favorite is just remake the last one. Oh God, you devil! That was the best one.
I know.
I actually like them all. They're like guilty pleasures of mine. But like that's one. Like I'm normally not big on on remakes, but I think Oh God could work with Morgan Freeman and whoever the hell you put in there. I was thinking like Ryan Reynolds actually would have been pretty good.
He's not quite. He needs somebody.
But that would have been like 10, 15 years ago. That
was Ryan Reynolds now. No.
No,
you need somebody who's completely
a bit more,
down to earth and vulnerable, like everyman kind of thing.
Tom, Burns was the second choice to play God, right?
No, I didn't know that actually.
It was recommended by the first choice. They asked Jack Benny, he's like, I'm just too sick. You should call George Burns. He will knock it out of the park. And they're like, but we kind of had you in mind. He's like, believe me, George Burns will not let you down. He's a comic genius.
Yeah, they clearly just wanted a comedian. I got to show this
because somebody brought up Chris Pine, and when somebody says that he can't act, I tell them
the trio. And then we slowly get introduced to these characters, and I'm like, okay, I'm not digging on all the vibes necessarily, but these guys are getting me into the movie because he feels like Kirk. He's not doing a Kirk inspired, like
Right.
or not doing
He doesn't do Shatner at all.
he wasn't doing
Until the end.
Shatner.
He was
But
doing
he
an
was
impression.
on the bridge.
Yeah.
He wasn't
The
doing an
very last
impression.
scene on
That's
the
what I
bridge
was thinking.
when
Of. Yeah.
When he's being sort of like when they give him command at the very, very end and he's on the bridge for like 1 minute, I think he's doing Shatner on purpose. But I did like him in that role.
I know the bit you're talking about too.
You know what
yes.
I'm talking about? Yes.
Yes.
I love
Hey,
talking
Sick.
Star Trek with you, man.
And you know what's
Well,
funny is that's
any
probably like one of the
conversation
first
on
things he shot, and somebody was like, "Don't do that anymore."
Well, and the special, you have to listen to the DVD commentary by JJ on that because he's just like, and of course, this is where I told Chris this time. Like he takes credit for every single good thing, and
Of course he
anything
does.
bad, he's like, my people, of course, pushed me into doing this one. I wish I'd put a little
Uh-huh.
more thought into it, but I think it paid off well for the movie. And it's like,
Sure.
no, it's two guys, one parachute. When they fall and they use a transporter, no one buys it as a real. And he's like, I changed Kirk into Indiana Jones. It's like, yeah, we really noticed that inside the first 10 minutes. You don't have to say that. And he's like, this is the fight from the end of Raiders. Like, yeah, everyone noticed that, JJ.
I was like, yeah, I know that line too. And he's like, at the end of the thing when he's like bones, and the way he says it, it's just like, okay, you're doing a little too much Shatner there. It's like,
And he
okay,
sits in the
back it off
chair,
just a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just for the last minute of the movie. I think it was fine, honestly, because if you look in the
Could've
next
been.
movie when Khan reveals himself, watch that scene. Even Carl Urban plays it like he's a little scared, and only Chris Pine did the research. He's like, but we don't know who this freaking guy is. So everyone's kind of like, whoa, and Chris Pine just looks at him like, what the hell are you talking about, man? We didn't do a Space Seed story. I don't know you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, second movies where everything went off the rails, unfortunately. But no, like, and even Carl Urban was the one who, it was probably, well, that was the thing. In hindsight, I hate the movie, but I enjoyed it after the fact because of the cast, actually.
Yes.
Like I said, we got to DeForest Kelly, what's his face, Carl Urban playing that role. And even though it's not the same bones, but it's his bones, but it's also bones enough, right? Like it was like, okay, now I'm convinced. You've got the main three guys. That's all that really mattered. And, I wasn't worried about Simon Pegg. Simon Pegg was the only one who's like, okay, I guess I can kind of see that.
Then Spock has his.
Who else are you going to get to play that role at that time, dude? Like, seriously.
An unknown? Does it have to be a name? Does it have to be a name all the time?
He was fine. I didn't mind.
You know what? He makes the best Kelvin Star Trek movie, so it was a good thing he was around. Not that we needed any of them, but the third one is better than the JJ ones by a little bit. At
least it's Star Trek.
It felt like an episode.
They go to a planet, and Kirk is brave, and Spock is not bipolar. It's the only movie where Spock doesn't have multiple bipolar.
No, I got to go with Teague on this one. Of all the JJ Trek movies, even though that one has the least amount of his involvement, that's probably why it's the most Star Trek-y.
Well, it has the most Star Trek moment when Spock and McCoy are alone, about to be killed, and Bones is like,
"Yes,
well, at least I won't face this alone." And then Spock gets beamed away.
Typical.
Like, how typical.
Well, and the sad part is
he got DeForest Kelly right there. I'm sorry, Tom.
No, you're right. My favorite
he loves
scene in part
DeForest
2.
Kelly too, by the way. That's why.
Who doesn't? He's the greatest.
Carl Urban is a huge fan.
My favorite scene in all three of the films is actually in part 2, believe it or not, which is kind of shitty because that's the worst of the films, right? But it's the Godfather 3 scene. They actually kind of get that scene right. And what I mean is it's the scene where Kirk finally realizes, oh shit, there's a lot of important people in the same place at one time. Something bad is about to happen.
Oh yeah, with their headquarters.
Yeah. When they're all at that meeting, and then Khan shows up with the helicopter and starts blowing them away, just like Joey Zazo did in Godfather.
Yeah.
It's a direct ripoff of the Godfather 3 scene.
It's so stupid because why is he taking a 300-year-old piece of technology to attack Starfleet headquarters? Military genius Khan is stopped by a fire hose. That's like us taking an 1820s warship.
I just like the scene because that's a Kirk thing, right? Because he would be the guy to figure that out. That's why I like that. But that's it. Yeah.
But isn't that like us taking a wooden warship from 1820 and attacking the United Nations from New York Harbor? It's like, we got these guys right where we want them.
I'm with Anima. This is a Dune stream, guys.
Sorry.
we had
this is why I've been duned out so hardcore.
Fucking nerds.
That's true. That's
Dune,
true.
That's my fault to a point.
No, we're just nerds.
I've been
It's
playing
okay.
with my bucket too much, so
That thing
I'm a little
is wrong.
spent.
That thing looks
I'm a little
wrong.
spent. So.
Look,
No,
the main problem is this is what we are, and we're proud of it.
Yeah.
That's
Darn
us.
right.
no, I mean, really, there's not the sad part about this movie is the worst thing you can say about it is just its limitations, right? Otherwise, it nails just about everything else. There's only a
With the
couple minor
writing,
things that I have
acting,
issues with.
everything.
Yeah,
Well, the thing that it does do, as far as I'm concerned, I think I've made that clear over the course of the stream, is that this miniseries humiliates, as far as I'm concerned, the new Dune.
It
just
does.
really does. It absolutely does. With and because of, as you said, it had those limitations, and yet it did such a better job of telling the story. And then you compare that with something that's I don't even know what the budgets were on the new Dune movies, like
20
100 million,
million
150.
for this. 20
Yeah.
million for the entire series.
Right, and that's $2,000, so it'd be like maybe 50 million today,
which is
40
pretty
million something.
ambitious. Yeah, for a television, especially
Yeah.
a cable channel to do at that time.
Yeah.
'Cause this is. I'm trying to remember. Was Sopranos and stuff like that out yet? 'Cause I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure Deadwood and stuff wasn't.
Deadwood
But-
was a couple of years off from this, but yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah,
Sopranos
for
was,
so like for prestige stuff like this to be putting this kind of money into it, like The Sopranos wasn't as expensive. That was my whole point I was getting to.
No.
Because like HBO and FX and those kind of channels and AMC hadn't quite jumped into the Game of Thrones type stuff yet. Like people forget, like Game of Thrones, when they did that was one of the most expensive shows of all time until Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, even Deadwood, if I remember right, was the most expensive show before that. And that's the only reason they canceled that show. It did fine in the ratings as far as people watching it.
Too
They
expensive.
just couldn't justify the expenditure because
Yeah.
it was so expensive. Yeah.
And this was such a Hail Mary play by Sci-Fi Channel of all
Yes.
places to try to pull off a production like this with material that was, classically so difficult to adapt. And they did it great. Like, I mean, again, if anybody, if they've, are the behind the scenes stuff, have they uploaded them to YouTube yet or something? Because man, the behind the scenes stuff on this, where they talk about the production, they talk about the adaptations, are really interesting because they admit, like, yeah, we had to do this, and it's not quite the same as the book because we had to do this. But just like with Jackson, they did everything they could to adhere to it. And you saw the Harrison, the director of this, and I think at one point he's like carrying around a copy of Dune, and it's all marked up, and he's got all of his little tabs in it and everything, and they're trying their best to sort of like condense everything. It just shows what you can do with passion and shoestring and necessity being the mother of invention, and it completely puts the latest to shame. And I really wish people are like praising the new Dune, like, oh my, I just wish they'd take a few hours and watch this, because they would, I think, have their minds changed real quick.
Oh yeah.
Looks better than some cinematic movies. Again, Solo does not look this good.
Mario Van Peebles. Sorry.
I like this. The Star Wars Solo is the first movie we get. Drinker calls her Freckle Jesus, Erin Kelly.
Yes.
From Willow. Yes.
Yeah. Falcon and Winter Soldier. She showed up too as the sympathetic terrorist. I hate it. God, I hated that.
It made her so overly evil. Carly's like, set everyone on fire, including the children. I'll be right back. And Sam's like, I can see the good in you, Carly. Don't do this. And she's like, yeah, on her like little radio, she's like, start deleting the children. It's like, wow. And they wouldn't even let like Falcon be the one to take her out. Sharon, who we thought was dead, wakes up, coughs, plugs her, and just falls back down on the floor. Saves Sam's life. He runs over to Carly. Carly, no! You didn't get a chance to set those kids on fire. You didn't get to live your dream. So terrible.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, there's probably more ambitious sets here, because I mean that's the thing we got to remember.
Yeah.
Like, almost all of this is sets. I don't even think they did much map painting or whatever, and that's because you could kind of tell because of the limitations of the filming. Because as I said, I pointed out earlier, anything that's actual in HD was something they had in film on camera. Because otherwise it was all digital effects, and you can tell because it dumps back down to a 480p quality picture. So yeah.
The budgets on CGI and everything else back then was just I mean, more difficult and ridiculous than it is
Exactly,
today.
yeah.
And so everything here's all the sets are practical. You know, you got some green screen stuff and occasionally some really cheesy looking green screen stuff. But then you got like
But
the
even
scenes
that
in
was
the-
done with computers. See, that's the thing, and it
Well,
looks
yeah.
janky in this version. Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
but then you got pictures like here with the siege and everything, where you have this giant like that. Whether they're standing on a real carved out statue set portion.
It's a
of
real
it.
set, obviously. That's my point. Yeah.
Yeah, and then if they do have some long distance background shot things, again, it's like I forget what it's called. Like it's called like an ultralight or something. There's some special term for the scrims that they use, the big sheet backdrops that has some kind of like special thing to it that makes it feel like it's actually in the environment and not just like a blank sheet. Like I said, the volume before there was the volume. And yeah, and the artistry, just look at the behind the scenes stuff and the construction and everything. It's just, you just don't get this anymore. And the new stuff just feels so, especially the way Denis did the visuals on the new stuff. It's so bland and stark and boring.
Well, there's a
It's just
huge difference
boring to
between
look
the
at.
first one and the second one, and I think that there's a lot more CGI in Dune Part 2.
Yeah.
Because part
I
one,
haven't seen part two. I haven't seen part two.
Yeah,
so
I
can't
mean,
say.
maybe once you see it, you'll see what I mean. Because in the part one, you can tell there's a lot more bigatures and miniatures being used, and forced perspective type stuff. Because
Did
I
you
remember
say
watching them.
bigatures?
Yeah, that's what they're called.
That's
I
right.
had to
Bigatures.
think on that one for a minute. I was like, what is this? I was like,
I know,
that's
it
it,
sounds
but
weird.
I've never
heard
heard
I said
say
Gary
it
knows
before.
what there are. But
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
no,
it is.
like all
It's
those
really threw me.
spaceships in that big scene where you see the whole field opened up and they have all the big circular spaceships sitting there and you see the whole army and stuff like that. Those are all bigatures and stuff. All that stuff. He did it a lot like Lord of the Rings. And I remember them talking about a lot of that stuff, how they did a lot of that stuff. And that's why the first film looked, in my opinion, a lot more realistic. And then when I don't know about the second film, I haven't watched the making of it yet, but watching it, I feel like there's a hell of a lot more CGI usage in the second film than
Other
there was in
people
the
have
first
said
film.
that too. You're not alone in that. I've heard that from a few sources.
Here's where the Emperor looked like the Emperor with all of the goofy stuff. I mean,
Yes,
he's still a little
yeah,
goofy,
this is
but
probably
much
one
more.
of the better emperors here. This guy, I'm trying to think of his name. He's a French actor.
This
No,
guy
he's
here,
Italian.
it's Giancarlo Giannini.
Yeah, he's
Yeah, that's
Italian.
what it is. Yeah, or Italian.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's what I
Maybe,
meant. Italian. I didn't mean.
Yeah.
I said French. Yeah, that's what
French.
I meant.
Yeah.
I knew what I
Make,
meant.
make the Emperor great again.
You know why I said French? Because I think he plays the Frenchman in Hannibal.
No, he's
I'm not
Italian there
mistaken.
too. He's
Is he Italian in that too?
Yeah,
Jesus.
he's Pazzi.
Yeah.
Why did I think he was French?
I don't know.
Yeah,
You got
well,
something against the Italians?
I hate
Detective
French.
Pazzi. Don't we
I
all?
love the Italians.
You just hate Close Encounters and Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I don't know why I thought he was
guy.
French. It's been a while since it, why did I?
You're mixing up with Gerard Depardieu or something? Like,
Maybe, but no, you're right. I hate that guy. I like this guy. I apologize to all the Italian people out there listening.
Yeah, this is
On
the
behalf of all Italian folks, Tom. I'm like a quarter Italian. I can accept the apology.
The French
Yeah,
are
this
just
is-
like, well, fuck you too. It's
yeah,
like,
I think this is the scene that they almost didn't shoot because they weren't sure they could do it, and then the two actors said, "Let's just do it," and they just like filmed it on the spot, and it was going to be cut. I think this is the scene that they were talking about.
This is the
before.
Harkonnen scene.
Yeah, this is where the big revelation comes in, and he tells her about her own lineage and blows her mind. Like, oh my god!
which was one of the big probably mistakes of the Lynch Dune. And I don't think they really
Leaving it out.
utilized well enough in the new one.
No,
But yeah,
no.
because it kind of feels last minute in the new one, if I remember right, too.
Well, because they don't take any time to establish. This is the grandeur and the complexities of the houses and everything else. It doesn't really come across that well in Dune Part 1. And Lynch's Dune, tries to consolidate everything into one movie. So there's so many,
Yeah, making
sacrifices.
it
are made.
rain.
Oh, the God, I hate that part.
I gotta say, I do enjoy the Lynch movie a lot, though. I don't, but maybe it's because I didn't read the books. That's an enjoyable
Yeah.
movie to watch. Aside from Patrick Stewart.
I love the Sardaukar outfits in here. They're so grandiose, but they're so distinct from everybody else. It's, when they march in and they're got the purple and the black going on, like, oh, these guys aren't supposed to be here. These aren't the Harkonnens. What are they doing? And the big floppy hats. Love the big floppy hats.
Kind of remind me of the Swiss Guard.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Over the top. Yeah.
Or the Inquisitor outfits from Encounter at Farpoint that the Q has on.
That's right. Oh yeah.
Slightly
And this
similar.
and this is before Revenge of the Sith, so it's like this is kind of a on it. We're gonna killing kids. Not something you saw very often in these things.
Well, don't worry. Order 66 was overblown in early propaganda. It's actually one of the most failed military operations since the Vietnam War, and not even the younglings were hurt. In fact, this one Reva was stabbed through the stomach by Vader himself, and she was just fine. So, much ado about nothing with Order 66. It was a few Jedi were hurt.
Yeah.
A few more were inconvenienced.
Lightsabers are spaghetti noodles. It's fine.
Right, and after in subsequent movies, we found out they got a very small amount of Jedi. Most of the Jedi weren't there that day.
Yeah.
The last King of Scotland survives easily.
Speaking of Last King of Scotland, another McAvoy vehicle.
That's right. He's a good actor. He's the better.
He's
Professor
very
X.
good.
His performance as Professor X is much better, in my opinion.
Not to deviate too much.
By the way, again, the actor who plays the Emperor in this is Giancarlo Giannini.
Yes.
And he's still one of my favorite parts of the Daniel Craig Bond films. He's in the first two films.
Who does he play in those? I don't remember now.
He plays the agent that Bond actually thinks is the one that betrayed him.
Okay.
Is it Casino Royale or is it Quantum?
Casino Royale and Quantum. He's in both. He dies in Quantum.
That's why I forgot about what happened to that character. I hate Quantum of Solace. Is just a boring, horrible movie with a.
Whoa.
Well then.
I was in the penalty.
I guess
box
somebody up here
fun of
likes
Daniel
that
Craig.
movie. I'm not going to say who.
You know, reassessing it, Quantum of Solace is a triumph for the modern Bond.
All it is, all the film is a bookend film. That's all it is. And to hate it is to hate the first film, because all it is doing is finishing the plot of the first film.
So it's like when I watch Star Trek Voyager and the episode's not great, but I'm like, man, I'm still high off that theme song. It was so good.
And I did like the theme song to that movie too. What's his name from this
Jack White,
supposedly brother and sister band.
They were wife and it was divorced.
They're a wife
they
and
yeah. Well, they were divorced by the time the band made it. And if I saw Jack White with the Raconteurs, he was so happy to have a band that could do different time signatures that the last part of their show was like Zeppelin covers, just to show that they had a good drummer now.
Yeah, he plays Renee Mathis in the Bond films. And those are the only two good Bond films. The rest of them are garbage.
Yeah, I didn't like any of them.
Well, no, the first two are just great Bond movies. I've reassessed them in the last few minutes. Daniel Craig overcomes the stigma about people with two first names, and he's not miserable at all, and he doesn't hate his job. He just comes off as an enthusiastic and brand new agent, freshly minted, great stuff.
You know what? Daniel Craig would have made a good Duke Leto. He might have made a good Duke Leto.
I only want to see him playing people who are depressed or self-loathing from now on, because I know the real Daniel Craig, and I can't see anything but that anymore.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, maybe.
I'm done ever seeing him in anything. He ruined Bond for me, so I don't care. I hope he retires.
Yeah, he agreed to ruin Bond.
I feel like that wasn't even James Bond. He was as close to James Bond as Benedict Cumberbatch was to Khan. You know, it was just like not even vestigely. This James Bond was not a refined genius who could taste wine and play cards and do things like that, really with high skill and be
the early versions of Bond. He was a thug.
Yeah, he was a really tough merc. He's a really tough merc.
He actually fits Bond in Casino Royale because it's the first story.
Yeah, a little bit.
My problem with the film was bringing Judi Dench back because she immediately, he just got his 00 status and she's already calling him a has-been. You're a weapon of an old, and it's like, what are you talking about? You just fucking made him a 00. Dumb fucking line.
Well, you
and
can't
she shouldn't have been brought back.
You can't change Bonds without changing his whole milieu. You can't have the old Bonds M talking to the new Bond. We tried it in the 70s when there was a different bar. It worked. But at this point now, like no one wanted to see Pierce Brosnan's people hanging out with Daniel Craig. You're like, you're reminding us of better days. Please stop.
You're never going to see the old Bond again. Things have become too. The Broccoli's will not let Bond be Bond anymore.
Well,
whoever they hire next is going to be bad.
Barbara Broccoli is not going to. She wants him to be a modern Bond, and the minute you say that, I'm out. I'm out. I'm done.
She specified white and British. I would just say, let's make Bond great again and make Batman an American again.
Amazon owns him now, so kiss him goodbye. He's done.
Give Bond to Guy Ritchie. Give Bond to Guy Ritchie, and you'd be fine. But
there you go.
Barbara Broccoli will never let it.
Well, I like the idea that Christopher Nolan had, which was to go back to the 60s.
Oh, just time jump
make it a period piece.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if he were to do it, I would be cool with that, but that's not what's going to happen.
I agree. Did we get an announcement on a Bond actor that was then bought back or denied? Right? Was that turned out not to be
Aaron Taylor Johnson or whatever is was rumored, but then it was like not confirmed. So who knows?
Okay, I talked about it with Keith, and we were like, just from looking at him, it's like he has a Bond sort of look. It would be he could be cool if they gave him the right story, and then we both kind of agreed.
He's got he worked on the physique. And so he's not a pencil neck, and I like that.
Yeah. But again, no matter how good an actor you might get, it all depends on what is he allowed to do. What does the script say about the character?
And
it just doesn't.
Free to be Bond, as Bond was in the books, then it's not Bond.
No.
I feel Timothy Dalton was the one in my lifetime who is the most like the books as Bond.
Well, he is the only actor who ever played Bond who actually read the books. He was a fan. He was offered the role in 1969 when he was a young man.
Really?
He was
he
in his
starts
20s.
Bond smoking again.
You know why he didn't get the role? He turned it down. Well, what's going on with the mic?
I don't know.
Oh, it's Stephen. You didn't, Martin.
What I do?
So the only reason why he didn't take the role of Bond was because he said, "I'm not the right age." And he turned it down.
I thought his performances in those two movies were incredible, and I was sad that they couldn't find a way to make another one with him. The first movie's really good. The second movie's even better. I'm like, James Bond is trending up. I love the way this guy approaches the character. He starts him smoking ciggies again, which is something they had gotten rid of, and he's just like the book.
Yes, Timothy Dalton also has a lupine look to him, which is not too off from the Hoagie Carmichael look of... Because Hoagie Carmichael was the physical inspiration for Bond.
Yes. All I can say is Timothy Dalton in 1923 it shows us that he's a great actor because he is one of the most frightening and intimidating villains without being all that
horrifying in that one episode where he makes the girls hurt each other.
So you saw it. Yeah. His performance in that with the guy from Game of Thrones, and he's just like, I left some prostitutes in my house. I hope you could go there and maybe get rid of them before they steal all my money.
Oh, they're already paid for? I'm going to have some fun. Thank you.
You know, I just wish that John Hamm had been born British. Then we'd have a Bond.
He could just act just send him to some acting classes. He'll be British in a few weeks.
Nah, I think just like with Captain America or like Snake Plissken, I think the actor has to be native to the setting of the character. There's just some things you need a British actor to play Bond.
Yeah,
then we should only have an American play Batman. I want an American Batman.
Yeah, I'm kind of tired of the English actors coming over, or Australian actors coming here and doing their American accents, which are not right. House is the only that plays House. Is the only English actor I've ever heard do a proper American accent.
Well, there was a story way back when where they were thinking about remaking Escape from New York, and they were talking about getting Gerard Butler to do it. And I remember Kurt Russell came in and said, "No, Snake Plissken must be played by an American." That was just it. He's just like, "Nope."
2 out of 3 Spider-Man British as well, but Andrew Garfield, at least out of all of them, has the best.
I'm kind of sick of it, to be honest with you. I'm tired of the English actors coming over here and taking jobs away from Americans.
The Americans need to up their game. They're getting owned. Like we had an English Superman who is, arguably who's the American who could have done
one of the best Supermen ever. Just the movies were bad. He was good.
Movies were trash, but you're right. Like, we were rooting for Henry Cavill in spite of the movie and his character being ostensibly somewhat evil. It's like Snyder's Superman, when Lois dies, is going to turn the world into the nightmare world. There's only one way it's going to go down. Everyone keeps dreaming about it.
Her head is thick and veiny.
So what?
Huh?
Her hat is thick and
Oh,
veiny.
it's very Deep Space Nine. I was like, it's Vedic Baral.
We'll see it again here. I'll let it play through. Thick and veiny.
I'm sorry, it's Kai Wynn, I mean.
This is a good fight scene.
Yes.
There it is. Her hat is thick and veiny.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's like flies' wings.
What do you have against monetization?
And he
That
looks
outfit
like,
on the
I didn't say a dirty word, so by the way, he looks like one of the soldiers in the background of the original black and white serials of Flash Gordon or Buck Rogers.
Or Koloth from Star Trek, the original series, Cat's Paw.
Yeah, right.
Same outfit. Like, sorry,
Take
guys,
fade
we're
away.
not going to do any more Star Trek references, I promise.
Don't lie, Dick.
If the needs of the many outweigh the need to not make more Star Trek references, we'll use them.
And then the princess greeted him, "Live long and prosper."
No.
Because the force is with him.
What does
Thank you,
God
Anima,
need
for
with a Star Trek?
piping up 5 minutes late. You, Lori. It really is one of, I agree. Although I do like the narration when he's fighting. I will bend like the reed in the wind. You know, where he's thinking. You're always hearing Paul's thoughts in the 84 version. But that's it, man. Tom, you got any last thoughts before we end the show? Any of you guys subscribe?
Oh, well, just for anybody in the chat that hasn't seen the miniseries, it's definitely worth the purchase. Physical media all the way. You're not going to find this easily elsewhere. It is all on YouTube. There are very poor transfers over on YouTube of each of the three parts of the miniseries, but
you can also find halfway decent HD copies over on F Movies.
Yep.
fmovie.to.
Yeah, F Movies. I mean, yeah, this was really good. I was honored to be able to be here and sit in on this masterclass on Dune lore and this miniseries that I did watch but don't have great recall of. It looks great, and thanks, man. Really, honestly.
You bet. Tom, are you here?
And thanks to everyone who came out in the chat to listen to us. You guys are very much appreciated. You amazing audience.
Sorry, I was working on my supper. Yeah, no, I reflect what Scribe said. If you haven't checked it out yet, do yourself a favor, etc. No, this movie manages to do what I think Scribe said this as well. This manages to do what Villeneuve version didn't get to do, and he has no excuse.
We had quite a few requests to do Children of Dune, so I guess sometime in the future we should do that, Tom. If you're up for it.
Sure, at some point we should. Maybe when the next one comes out.
Right. So
I can say I have the slideshow ready for that.
Oh, good. Oh, that's right, because we're going to do both of them. So, well, that's it, guys. End of the show. I hope everybody enjoyed this. It's always fun talking about these movies, and you know, Tom knows this as well as I do that we get into so much of the negative shit that goes on in entertainment. It's why I like doing these Saturday shows, because we focus on what was good and why it was good, and hope that you get a chance to see it. And this is one of those things. Dune from 2000. It's not Dune 2000. It's Dune from the year 2000, also known as Frank Herbert's Dune, from the Sci-Fi Channel miniseries. And I hope you get a chance to watch this thing in full. I want to thank everybody who was here. Let's see who all joined us today. We got Schuttenshammer, Darius Munchausen. Hey, I recall, if you want anything to do with Munchausen, Darius Munchausen is the safest one for kids. Mike Savage, Anima Confusa, Miranda Stone, War Monkey, Winsome Hacks, Das Wölfen, Zax, Cavatino Cavalryman Che, Penny, Dadman Walking 55, Mr. Tickle Trunk, Parrot Head, and of course, Six, Jedi Six, Sagacious Six, no matter what, she's always Six. Shinatsky, Kitty Bear, Real Wade Nation, Jeff PDX1, Jacob the Critic, Dragon Ruse. Thanks for coming, everybody. We've had a good audience today. It was anywhere between 40 and 50 all day today during the show. So appreciate everybody watching and I hope you have a great weekend. Anybody want to talk about what they're doing next? Anybody doing anything today?
Well, I am going to watch Ghostbusters late in the afternoon.
No, I mean on YouTube that somebody else might want to watch. Nobody
Catch me
cares
at
what you're
Jedi
doing in your life, Martin.
I might be going to Jedi Bills to do a little singing tonight, and I think we have to finish Masters of the Air, and by finish I mean get through the end. It gets worse every episode after.
Yeah, I
3.
plan on doing a Military Monday dedicated to that. So, Scribe,
It's not
you?
that the story is bad.
Let's see, tomorrow at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, I've got my Sunday stream, which I do each week, where I cover a topic of interest to me at the time. I haven't quite picked it out yet, but I'll figure it out tomorrow, or at least by tonight. And then always Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, I have TED Excellence, where I take a look at various TED or TEDx talks, along with TEDx Bingo for entertainment and education.
Well, I would ask Tom, but it's like everybody knows Tom and everybody watches Midnight's Edge.
I might do some
Like,
need radio in a little bit when I'm done eating. You never know.
what are you playing tonight?
Saturdays is actually simply scores. So that's all I'll do.
Good.
Yep.
Any planting scores you're going to do tonight?
Well, I do have the Frozen Empire score, and I have been playing cuts off of that. So maybe
I liked the soundtrack. It was really good.
It was all right. Yeah. Not as good as
Yeah, no,
Afterlife.
I love they had more musical cues from the original film, which I liked.
Not as much as Afterlife, but yeah.
Really? I'm going to go back and have to watch it because I thought there were more this time. But well, that's it. That's cool. Everybody watch Mead and watch Scribe Light. And past that, have a great weekend. Be safe. And we'll see you on Monday for Military Monday.
That's all.